morning. Welcome. This is Barbie, Bellspalsy Talk, and today I'm very excited to be talking to a friend of mine, Terry. He is an acupuncturist and does Chinese medicine, and also had Bell's palsy when he was 10. So we're going to chat with him about, of course, his journey and acupuncture. I get a lot of questions about acupuncture for the benefit of Bell's palsy, but there's lots of different benefits that of course we buddy. Thank you for joining us, Debbie, Tracy, everybody that's here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hey, Terry, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Great.
I'm excited to
I'm
be
so
here
glad
to chat.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get this going. So I was just introducing you here on the talk. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback though. I don't know what. Can you hear that feedback at all? No? Oh,
Not
no, I can't.
On my end.
It's better now. So you're acupuncture. You specialize in acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and had Bell's palsy when you were 10. So obviously, you use those two things to work together. Now, do you specialize specifically in acupuncture for the face or the whole body?
It's both, actually. I start out by treating someone's general health and wellness, and then we treat the face. It's in Chinese medicine, we talk about treating the root and the branch. And so a lot of times what goes on with the face is just a reflection of what's going on with an individual's health and wellness in general. So when it comes to things like Bell's palsy, trigeminal neuralgia, Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, these are things that are reflective of our health in general.
Yeah.
And so I treat both the body and I treat points on the face.
Yes, and I do love that. I was just talking to my friend Andrea on a podcast yesterday about that, about treating our whole body, because of course disease of any kind just doesn't appear. You can have two people sitting together on the bus and I get Bell's palsy and they don't. Well, why is that? It's not just some random fluke. Of course, there's a reason that something's going on emotionally, physically, environmentally, all those things.
Yes.
And these natural, methods have been around for thousands of years to treat the root cause, whether it's stress, inflammation, all those things, instead of just taking a little pill to cover it up.
Yep.
So I do love that.
That's pretty much what I...
Yeah, the natural where you ask questions as opposed to just saying, okay, you have Bell's palsy, you take this pill, or so somebody has headaches. Okay, well, just take these painkillers. Well, why are those headaches, happening? Our body's a machine. It shouldn't be happening. One person gets headaches and not another. And that natural aspect is always something that I've really resonated with in my journey with natural health. So when somebody comes to you, they'll have their initial kind of consultation and you'll ask questions such as what's kind of some questions that would be different than they would hear at a general doctor, a GP, or a regular doctor.
What you'll find when you go to an acupuncturist is we look at things differently. So it's very holistic medicine. Holistic meaning whole person. Mm-hmm. So we're going to ask you, of course, about your medical history, what medications you might be on. Just like a doctor or a nurse would. At the same time, we're also going to ask you about your diet, your lifestyle, your emotional state, your history with all of those growing up, because it all plays a part. In Chinese medicine, we look at the body more like a garden or a field where we're growing crops rather than looking at the body like a machine. Everything has to be in context. So we want to know, okay, well, first of all, what kind of crop are we growing? Because every plant kind of has its own temperament, right? Mm-hmm. We want to know about what type of soil are we working with. That plays a difference. Okay, does the plant like sun or shade? That makes a difference. So then we got to know about the weather patterns. What kind of weather are we working with here? And then you've got to make sure you have an irrigation system that's working properly. Mm-hmm. So you're running ditches through your field. You've got to have the water running through the ditches. Do you have enough water running through your ditch? Or do you have too much water running through your ditch, because if you've got too much water, you flood things out. If you don't have enough water, then that dries things up. So we look at the body very similarly. And the simplest explanation on that is we have these, we have energy in our bodies: electrical energy, magnetic energy, chemical energy, kinetic energy. This is all kind of grouped under this small little Chinese word called qi. Qi being the body's energy that makes us animated living human beings. And it needs to circulate freely and smoothly through the pathways. And so we've mapped out large pathways in the body that are called meridian channels. And this is kind of like the water running through the ditches. If you don't have enough energy running through one of your meridian channels, if there's not enough water running through your ditch, that's a problem.
Or get stuck somewhere.
Yes, if things are dammed up or stuck somewhere, things get backed up, that becomes a problem. So my job as an acupuncturist is to figure out where these imbalances are, and then use specific points to redirect the flow of either qi or blood, and bring the circulation to areas that need more circulation, or start moving out the traffic jams, so to speak, so that we can get better circulation in the areas that need that circulation.
Yeah, because when I had acupuncture for my Bell's palsy, I went quite a bit at the beginning. So they put needles in, you'd think, being new at it, oh, something's wrong with my face if they're going to stick needles in my face. But no, they're sticking it in my toes. They're sticking it, I can't even remember. But that's to get the energy, because again, like you're saying, it's whole body, not just one spot. Just because there's a symptom or something happening in one area can stem from somewhere else. So what are things like with Bell's palsy or facial paralysis that you may kind of treat, or what would be an area that you would treat, or what you have seen in the past of symptoms or issues in someone's life?
Well, when it comes to working with a specific problem, so with Bell's palsy, for example, the problem is here. Well, the body, like I say, is kind of an electrical thing. So if you look at it like turning off a light bulb, there's two ways you can turn off a light bulb. You can either reach up to that light bulb and unscrew it. That's doing the local treatment, so needling in the face. Or you can go over to the light switch. And when you go over to the light switch and manipulate that light switch, you can turn off the light that way. That's like needling points on the feet and on the hand. So the idea in Chinese medicine a lot of times is that Bell's palsy is often caused by what they would call pathogenic wind invasion. And the ancient Chinese docs were very big on observing nature. And they believed that our bodies reflected what was going on in nature. We're very much a microcosm to the macrocosm of our environment. And so our bodies can be affected by environmental factors. Heat, cold, dryness, dampness, wind, these all have effects on the body. So the ancient Chinese thought that wind could penetrate into the body and then block up the energy flow. Now, for me, when I got Bell's palsy, I believe it was due to a combination of things. One was a baseball injury. I tried catching a pop fly, and for some reason, it missed my glove, tipped my thumb, and caught me square in the eye socket. And I mean instantaneous black eye. So there was tissue damage there. And when there's tissue damage, there's also energetic damage there as well. So it made that area more open to being invaded by outside pathogens. We went camping that weekend, and I laid out on the cold ground. And also living in Wyoming, it's very windy here. So I was exposed to both cold and wind. And so the idea in Chinese medicine, again, is that wind comes in, invades the tissue, blocks up the qi flow, and then everything goes slack.
At the perfect kind of time of when you had just had the injury.
Yep.
So somebody else, say they hadn't had the injury, it's quite possible they wouldn't have gotten Bell's palsy.
Yes.
And that's why it's so interesting when I talk to so many people, and it is frustrating for people who have Bell's palsy, is we don't have a solid answer about what the cause is. WEC here definitely think stress is a huge factor. Absolutely.
You bet.
If you have two people going through exactly the same situation, one has more emotional stress, one has more childhood trauma or whatever, that person could get Bell's palsy more than someone else.
Yes. The idea there is that in Chinese medicine, in the Chinese medicine paradigm, they didn't have a whole lot of ideas about nerves or blood cells or any modern medicine ideas. But their thought was that what we would consider the function of the nervous system was controlled by the liver.
Okay.
And so the liver in Chinese medicine controls the nervous system. And the liver is one of the organs that is very easily damaged by wind. And so there's a connection there as well. And stress also affects the way that the liver functions from a Chinese medicine
the enzymes and the hormones and things that go through there. It's fascinating to me how you're saying, okay, so thousands of years ago when they didn't have this information, they're just talking about wind. And then now that we do have the information, we're talking more about liver, which is very affected by wind. So they figured it out before they could just, Google it and things like that, and made those connections where they didn't really have all the pieces, whether that, how they came to that resolution. It's just fascinating that now that we have the information, it still applies.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's interesting how things can overlap. I mean, I talk about specific organs like the liver, but in the ancient Chinese medicine thought, they had no idea about, the liver being a filter for the body and how it works in a modern medicine sense. The idea for the liver in Chinese medicine is that it was responsible for making the qi flow freely and smoothly through the body. And when pain and illness occur, it's because that free flow has been jammed up. There's a kink in the hose somewhere. And so the first place we go to help create that free flow is addressing the function of the liver from the Chinese medicine standpoint.
Yeah, fascinating. And I am interested to know how you came about to be an acupuncturist, or where that kind of started. I read a little bit on your website, but
you bet.
What made you kind of get into this practice?
Well, that all started when I was young. The Bell's palsy played a part. That happened when I was 10. When I was 17, my mom was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And I grew up in northern Wyoming, rural Wyoming. So there wasn't a whole lot we could do. I mean, there just wasn't a whole lot of access to services there. And so I kind of became the designated shoulder rubber for my mom. She'd come home, she'd be hurting. She'd say, well, your dad rubs too hard. Your brother can't do it right. You've got the touch. And so one night when I was rubbing her shoulders, she said, maybe you ought to think about doing this professionally. Well, that struck a chord with me. It was like a light bulb went off. I went, I can do that? And so at the time, Wyoming didn't have any massage therapy schools. So I ended up going to junior college and dinked around and got an associate's degree in English, and then went, okay, what am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I better look at this massage therapy gig a little bit more. And so I did, and ended up in Utah, at the Utah College of Massage Therapy, and started getting exposure to Japanese shiatsu, applied kinesiology, acupressure, craniosacral therapy, and these modalities that all kind of came together. And so I got out and I got hired to help start the first hospital-based massage therapy program in the state of Wyoming over at Ivinson Memorial Hospital in Laramie. And I was using acupressure in the hospital to such an effect that I thought, dang, if I knew how to do this like an acupuncturist, because basically I was handed an acupuncture manual, and we kind of went over points and locations and what these points can be good for. So it's what I call cookbook acupuncture. But so I used the cookbook acupuncture on patients that were in the hospital and got like some pretty mind-blowing results, and thought, dang, if I knew how to do this like an acupuncturist, where I really truly understand the theories,
everything,
these people might not even be in the hospital. So when they canned my program, I decided, okay, I'm going to acupuncture school. And so I went and I got my master's degree from the Colorado School of Traditional Chinese Medicine in Denver, and was planning on bringing that back to Wyoming, but I ended up in Fort Collins. I tell folks the beer was too good in Colorado.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting an offer that I really couldn't pass up starting out. So we landed in Fort Collins, and we've been here in northern Colorado since 2006. I'm now located in Windsor, Colorado, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Fort Collins. And having a good time.
Enjoy it. That's wonderful. Now, for people with Bell's palsy, when should they start seeing acupuncturists? Like, if I wake up for Bell's palsy today and today's Monday, should I try to see an acupuncturist right away, within a week?
Immediately. The sooner, the better. The sooner you can get in, and we can start working to reduce the inflammation in that facial nerve, and start getting those messages from the facial nerve to start connecting again with the brain. That really helps. That will increase your chances of recovery by a lot. The longer you sit on it, the less chance there is.
For sure. And I think that's with any treatment that we hear about for Bell's palsy. But I mean, I think too, sometimes people just expect there to be instant results, and something like acupuncture, you don't necessarily always have instant results, right? You just need to kind of wait it out.
Yes, it's like any other bodywork modality. I mean, it takes time for a body to bring itself into a pattern of disharmony. It takes time for the body to work itself out, because it's not me and the acupuncture doing the work. What the acupuncture does is it basically points your body in the right direction to realize its own capacity for healing. It helps wake things up so that the body goes, oh yeah,
this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I can take care of that. I can feel that. And so it's about bringing you back into homeostasis and balance, which can take several treatments. Yes, indeed.
Right. It's not an instant thing. And that's what we're talking about with natural medicine. When I talk about, diet or leaky gut syndrome or anything like that, we tend to, in our society, want an instant result where, I have a headache, I go take a pill and the headache goes away. Okay, well, that's fine for now, but the headaches are still going to keep happening. So
I don't know what happened here, Barbie, but I just lost your audio. Yeah, I just lost your audio, Barbie. I don't know if that's one. Yep, there we go. Now I can hear you again.
Yes, no, somebody was calling me. I didn't realize that it lost my audio while it was doing that. But so I was just saying that, if your body gets headaches, you can't just say, okay, you take a pill. In our modern society, we want to just take a pill and for it to go away. Well, we want those headaches to kind of go away. Yes, get our body back into a state of homeostasis, normal, in a capacity to heal itself. Yeah, that's just what I was rambling about.
Well, and that's why we talk about treating the root and the branch.
Yeah, so, treat the branch for now, kind of get some relief while we're treating the root.
Yes. And that's the ultimate goal with traditional Chinese medicine, is we treat the symptoms, But the goal is to get into that root cause. Why did this happen? Is it an emotional cause? Okay, if it is, well, let's start getting you aware of those emotions so that you can better process them. Is it something physical? Then
That's
we
a lot.
look into that.
People holding in for emotions. Well, acupuncture isn't going to necessarily help that. So a combination of acupuncture and talk therapy and meditation and things like that would be an ideal situation. I do, you know, Louise Hay, I always talk, that was the first thing I Googled when I got Bell's palsy, you know, what's the cause? And it's that you're holding in anger and you're not using your voice. Okay, well, acupuncture isn't going to help me with that. It's not a magic pill. Like you said, it puts my body in the right flow so that when I also start using my voice, then those things all work together and yada, yada.
Yeah, and the cool thing with acupuncture is, like I say, with it being holistic, there are emotional associations with each organ system. So, for example, the liver, the organ or the emotions associated with that organ are irritation, frustration, and anger. And so if you are stifling those, if you're not allowing yourself to express those things in a healthy way, then that creates jamming in that liver chi flow and then causes problems. And those problems can show up in a number of different ways, Bell's palsy being one of them.
That's fascinating. And I love that in natural medicine, everybody that I read about has a different way of describing it necessarily, whether you're talking about metaphysical or Chinese medicine or those different ways, but it all comes back to the similar kind of theme. That's fascinating. Yeah, that is fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us today. The one thing I'm going to mention to everybody that we're doing is Carrie and I are working on a book collab. We're super excited about it. Our friend Amy has brought about 25 authors together who have all had experience with facial paralysis. So we're writing a book together. Everybody gets to do a chapter. Terry's done a chapter. I've done a chapter. And we're going to be bringing that book out next year. And I'm so excited. And so Terry will be back in a few months and we'll be chatting about the book too. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was awesome. Thank you. I've learned so much and I hope everybody else has too. If anybody has any questions, make sure you pop them in the comments for Terry and he'll come by and answer that, and you can contact him. I'll put his information up there too. You have a great day, Terry. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Barbie.
Thanks. Bye.